Let's start with the killers who thought they were changing one life, and slowly work our way towards the ones who accidentally helped change the entire world. Humans have always been obsessed with assassins. There's something terrifying about the idea that a single person with a gun or a knife and enough rage or faith can walk into history, pull a trigger, and walk out leaving empires, revolutions, and peace treaties bleeding on the floor. In this video, we're going to count down 8 of the most notorious assassins in the world. Some of them saw themselves as patriot, some were fanatics, some were actors who confused real life with drama, and at least one was a sickly teenager who happened to be in the wrong place at the most consequential time. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll see how one young man with a pistol helped drag the entire planet into war. Number 8. Charlotte Corday, the woman in the bathtub. If you lived in Paris in 1793, you'd probably have a love-hate relationship with bathtubs. On the one hand, hygiene. On the other, that's where one of the French Revolution's loudest voices got turned off like a candle. Jean-Paul Marat was a radical journalist and politician. He spent his days sitting in a bathtub because of a nasty skin disease, scribbling articles that basically said, "Everyone is a traitor, please execute more people, thanks." His hit pieces helped fuel the reign of terror. Enter Charlotte Corday. She was a young woman from a minor noble family who hated what the revolution had become. In her eyes, Marat wasn't a hero of the people. He was a bloodthirsty maniac getting thousands of people killed with his pen. So she came up with a plan that was equal parts simple and insane. Charlotte traveled to Paris, bought a kitchen knife, and showed up at Marat's home claiming to have a list of traitors from her hometown. Because nothing says "trust me" like turning up in the middle of a purge with a snitch list. His wife tried to send her away. Charlotte insisted the information was urgent. Eventually, Marat agreed to see her. From his bathtub, picture the scene. A sickly man soaking in brownish bathwater, head wrapped in a cloth, quill in one hand, paper floating around him. He asks for the names. She gives them. He promises they'll all meet the guillotine soon. And that's her cue. Charlotte pulls out the knife and plunges it into his chest. Marat screams. His blood mixes with the bathwater and spills onto the floor. Within minutes, the voice that had called for so many deaths is silent. Charlotte doesn't run. She waits to be arrested. She tells her judges she killed one man to save 100,000. Revolutionaries disagree. They paint Marat as a martyr, turn his death into propaganda, and send Charlotte to the guillotine. The terror doesn't slow down. If anything, it gets worse. Depending on who you asked, Charlotte Corday was either a monster or a martyr with very dramatic timing. Number 7. Nathuram Godse, the man who killed the Mahatma. Some assassins try to vanish into the crowd. Nathuram Godse walked straight up to his target. It's January 30th, 1948, in New Delhi. India has just won independence from Britain, but the country is bleeding from partition between India and Pakistan. Millions have been displaced. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs are killing each other in riots. Mahatma Gandhi, the man who preached non-violence and led the independence movement, is fasting, praying, and traveling, trying to stop the bloodshed. Not everyone loves him for it. Godse is a Hindu nationalist. He believes Gandhi is too soft, too willing to compromise with Muslims and Pakistan, and that his influence is weakening Hindu India. In his head, killing Gandhi will save the nation. That evening, Gandhi walks slowly across a garden to a prayer meeting, supported by 2 grandnieces, palms pressed together in his usual greeting. There are barely any bodyguards. He's 78 years old and absolutely not bulletproof. Godse steps out of the crowd, bows to Gandhi, then suddenly pulls out a pistol. He fires 3 shots into Gandhi's chest and abdomen at point-blank range. Eyewitnesses say Gandhi murmured a brief prayer as he collapsed. Panic erupts. Some people try to beat Godse to death on the spot. Police drag him away. Godse goes on trial and delivers a long speech, insisting he acted out of patriotism. It doesn't work. He is convicted and hanged. Gandhi, meanwhile, becomes even more of a global symbol of peace and nonviolence than he already was. Streets, statues, and holidays carry his name around the world. Godse tried to save his country by murdering its moral compass. Instead, he turned that compass into a legend that refused to die. He tried to silence Gandhi's voice. and accidentally turned it into an echo that's still bouncing around the planet. Number 6. Mehmet Ali Ağca, the gunman who shot the Pope. Not many people can say, "I shot the Pope and then he came to visit me in jail." Mehmet Ali Ağca can. It's May 13th, 1981. St. Peter's Square in the Vatican is packed with tens of thousands of people. Pope John Paul II is making his way through the crowd in an open-top vehicle, doing what popes do, blessing babies, waving, being incredibly visible and incredibly vulnerable. Somewhere in the sea of faces stands Ağca, a Turkish gunman with a complicated background. Time in prison, ties to extremist groups, and a lot of anger. His exact motives are still debated. Communist plot? Rogue fanatic? Conspiracy lovers? This one's for you. As the Pope-mobile passes close by, Ağca raises a Browning pistol and fires several shots. The Pope slumps backwards, his white cassock suddenly blooming red. Screams rip through the square. Security men grab Ağca, nearly tearing him apart, while others rush the Pope to an ambulance. Television cameras capture the chaos. For Catholics around the world, it looks like the apocalypse just dropped in for a surprise visit. John Paul II is rushed into surgery with massive internal bleeding. Doctors fight for his life for hours. Against the odds, he survives. Ağca is tried and sentenced to life in prison in Italy. He sits in his cell, now one of the most infamous would-be assassins in the world. And then something very strange happens. 2 years later, Pope John Paul II walks into Ağca's prison cell. No papal throne, no crowd, just two men sitting close together, talking quietly while cameras wait outside. The Pope says he forgives him. We still don't know exactly who, if anyone, ordered Ağca to pull the trigger. But we do know this: he failed to kill the Pope, and ended up as half of one of history's most awkward prison visits. Number 5. Khalid Islambouli, the assassin at the parade. If you're going to kill a president, doing it in the middle of a live military parade in front of the entire high command is bold. On October 6, 1981, Egypt is celebrating the anniversary of the 1973 war. President Anwar Sadat sits in the reviewing stand, watching tanks roll by, jets scream overhead, and soldiers march in perfect formation. Behind the spectacle, hatred is simmering. Sadat signed a peace treaty with Israel a few years earlier. Many in the Arab world see this as betrayal. Islamist militants inside Egypt are furious. Among the troops marching that day is Khalid Islambouli, an army lieutenant who has secretly joined a radical group. As a truck full of soldiers passes the reviewing stand, it suddenly stops. The men jump down, but instead of saluting, they pull out grenades and rifles. One of them throws a grenade toward the platform. Others sprint forward, firing. Islambouli runs toward the president, shouting religious slogans and shooting. Bullets tear through the air. Officials dive for cover. TV cameras, capturing the parade, suddenly record pure chaos. Smoke, screams, soldiers scrambling in both directions. When it's over, Sadat lies mortally wounded. Several others are dead or dying. The world watches in shock as Egypt's president is killed during what was supposed to be a patriotic show of strength. Islambouli is arrested, tried, and executed. To his followers, he becomes a hero. To everyone else, he's the man who turned a parade into a massacre. Sadat's death throws Egypt into uncertainty, but also clears the way for his vice president, Hosni Mubarak, to take power and rule for nearly 30 years. The parade was supposed to celebrate a past war. Instead, it kicked off a whole new chapter of chaos. Number 4. Yigal Amir, the man who shot peace in the back. Sometimes an assassin doesn't just kill a person. He tries to kill an idea. It's November 4th, 1995, in Tel Aviv, Israel. Tens of thousands of people have gathered for a peace rally. They sing, wave signs, and cheer speeches in support of the Oslo Accords, an attempt to finally bring peace between Israelis and Palestinians. At the end of the night, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin stands on stage and joins in singing the Song of Peace. He folds the lyric sheet and slips it into his jacket pocket. Then he walks down toward his car. In the parking area, security is present but not impenetrable. Among the crowd is Yigal Amir, a law student driven by religious and nationalist extremism. He believes the Oslo Accords are a betrayal, that giving up land is unforgivable, and that killing Rabin will save Israel. As Rabin approaches his car, Amir steps out of the shadows behind him and fires 3 shots at close range, hitting the prime minister in the back and chest. Rabin collapses. He's rushed to the hospital, but the wounds are fatal. Doctors can't save him. The bloodstained lyrics to The Song of Peace are found in his pocket. Amir is captured on the spot. He proudly confesses, showing no remorse. He is sentenced to life in prison. The assassination sends shockwaves through Israel and around the world. Many people see it not just as the killing of a man, but as the murder of a fragile peace process. Negotiations continue in various forms, but Rabin's absence leaves a hole that still hasn't really been filled. Yigal Amir fired 3 bullets. Some would say the echoes are still ringing over the Middle East. Number 3. John Wilkes Booth, the actor who killed the president. Most assassins don't get to deliver their final line from a theater stage. John Wilkes Booth did. It's April 14th, 1865. The American Civil War has just effectively ended. President Abraham Lincoln is exhausted but hopeful. To relax, he decides to attend a play, Our American Cuisine, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Security is casual. There's a guard at the door, but people are used to walking in and out. It's the 1860s. They haven't invented bulletproof limo yet. John Wilkes Booth is a well-known actor from a famous theatrical family and an ardent supporter of the Confederate cause. He blames Lincoln for the South's defeat and dreams of striking a dramatic blow that will avenge it. Booth knows the theater layout intimately. He slips into the building, moves through the backstage area, climbs a narrow staircase, and reaches the hallway behind the presidential box. At some point, the guard assigned to watch the door wanders off. Booth wedges the door shut from the inside with a wooden bar. Inside the box, Lincoln is watching the play, laughing at a joke. Booth waits for a line that always draws big laughs, so the crowd's noise will cover the shot. Then he steps into the box, raises a small pistol, and shoots Lincoln in the back of the head. The president slumps forward. Mary Todd Lincoln screams. Another guest grapples with Booth, who slashes him with a knife. Booth jumps from the balcony onto the stage, catching a spur on a flag, breaking his leg in the process, and shouts a phrase in Latin associated with Roman tyrannicide before limping off stage and disappearing into the night. For the next 12 days, the most famous man in American theater becomes the most wanted man in America, hiding in barns and swamps. As soldiers hunt him down, they eventually corner him in a tobacco barn. When he refuses to surrender, the soldiers set the barn on fire and shoot him. Booth dies believing he struck a heroic blow for the South. History does not agree. For a man obsessed with drama, John Wilkes Booth definitely picked the loudest exit cue possible. Number 2. Lee Harvey Oswald, the question mark in Dallas. On November 22nd, 1963, Dallas wakes up excited. President John F. Kennedy is visiting. He's young, charismatic, and riding through the city in an open-top limousine because apparently everyone had collectively decided that roof was optional in the early 60 seconds. Crowds line the streets, waving small flags. The motorcade turns into Dealey Plaza, a curving road surrounded by tall buildings. On the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, a former Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald is crouched behind a stack of boxes, rifle in hand. Oswald's life is a tangle of defection, disillusion, and anger. He tried living in the Soviet Union, came back, bounced between jobs and grievances. Somewhere along the way, he decided that killing Kennedy would make a statement. As the president's car turns onto Elm Street, Oswald sights in and fires. The first shot misses or only grazes. The second hits both Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connally. The third strikes Kennedy in the head. The president collapses into his wife's lap as the limousine accelerates away. Onlookers scream. Some misinterpret the shots as firecrackers. One bystander, Abraham Zapruder, happens to capture the entire horror on his home movie camera. Kennedy is rushed to Parkland Hospital but declared dead shortly after. Within hours, police arrest Oswald. He denies everything, telling reporters, "I'm just a patsy." Conspiracy theories are born in that moment. 2 days later, as Oswald is being transferred from the city jail, a nightclub owner named Jack Ruby steps out of a crowd of reporters and shoots him in the stomach. Live on television, Oswald dies without answering most of the questions people wanted to ask. Official investigations conclude he acted alone. Millions of people don't believe that to this day. Whether you believe in one gunman or 20 hidden on the grassy knoll, Dallas 1963 proved one thing. Sometimes a single afternoon can haunt a nation for generations. Number 1. Gavrilo Princip, the teenager who started a world war. Most of the assassins on this list changed their country. This one helped change the map of the entire planet. It's June 28th, 1914. In Sarajevo, Bosnia, the Austro-Hungarian Empire is on tour. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne, is visiting with his wife Sophie. Along the parade route, a group of young Bosnian Serb nationalists from a secret society called the Black Hand are waiting. They want independence from Austrian rule and believe killing the Archduke will send a message. Things do not go according to plan. One conspirator throws a bomb at the Archduke's car. It bounces off the folded roof and explodes under the next vehicle instead, injuring officers and bystanders. The Archduke decides to continue his schedule anyway, because nothing says "I'm fine" like surviving a bombing and going "drive on later." He insists on visiting the wounded in the hospital. His driver is told to take a new route. He doesn't get the memo. The car takes a wrong turn onto a narrow street and stalls trying to back up. Standing nearby, outside a food shop, is a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip, one of the would-be assassins whose earlier chance had already failed. He was literally grabbing a sandwich and sulking. Now the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne is 10 feet away from him in an open car, not moving. Princip walks up, pulls out his pistol, and fires 2 shots. One hits Sophie. One hits Franz Ferdinand. Both die within minutes. Gavrilo Princip is tackled and arrested. He's too young for the death penalty under Austro-Hungarian law, so he gets 20 years in prison. He dies a few years later of disease and poor conditions, his body wasting away in a cell. If the story ended there, he would just be another extremist whose plot succeeded. It doesn't end there. Austria-Hungary blames Serbia and issues an ultimatum. Alliances snap into place like a row of dominoes. Russia mobilizes. Germany backs Austria-Hungary. France and Britain join in. Within weeks, what started with one teenager and one pistol becomes World War I, a conflict that kills millions, destroys empires, redraws borders, and plants the seeds for World War II. Gavrilo Princip wanted to free his people. Instead, he helped set half the world on fire. From a girl with a kitchen knife and a bathtub, to a student at a peace rally, to a sickly teenager on a side street in Sarajevo, assassins have always believed they were acting for something bigger than themselves. Some were hailed as heroes by a few, cursed as demons by many. Some lived long enough to see the chaos they unleashed. Others died quickly and never saw just how far the shockwaves spread. But they all prove one uncomfortable truth. A single human being, convinced they are right and holding a weapon, can change the course of history in a few seconds. The question is, did any of them really get what they wanted? Or did they just trade one set of problems for a much bigger, much bloodier set? Which assassin on this list do you think had the biggest impact on history? And do assassinations ever really solve anything? Or do they just guarantee that the next chapter starts with blood?